Well, cost of living, interest rates are continuing to rise right across the country, and we don't know where interest rates are going to stop, although it looks like the heat might be starting to come out of inflation. Who knows? We'll wait and see. But the Finance Brokers Association of Australia is calling on the Australian Prudential Regulation Authority, or APRA, to reassess its decision to continue with a 3% loan serviceability buffer for mortgages as interest rates rise. So what that means is, say the interest rate is whatever it is, banks assume 3% more than that when they judge your eligibility or your capability to repay it. But Peter White, the Managing Director of the Finance Brokers Association of Australia, says that 3% loan buffer that borrowers who can afford is putting more people in mortgage prison, is the words he's calling. Peter White, good morning.
Good morning, Stephen. Thanks for speaking with us this morning.
Surely this is common sense that you assess people for, you assume that buffer so that people don't get themselves into trouble.
Yeah, exactly, Stephen. That is the case, and I think I started first writing home loans in the early 80s, and it's been there ever since that time. But there's always been a measure that is fit for purpose and is forward-looking into the near future, or you're not too far out to say, well, where are interest rates going to go? And if they are continuing to rise to a certain level, then when you service a loan or you go through that servicing criteria for lending, you look ahead and say, well, if you can afford a higher repayment, then you're fine to lend to today. Principal concern, hence the buffer rate. And the concern that I have after, I think it's my 45th year now going into lending in this country of banking finance, is that it is creating for existing mortgages, the existing mortgage borrowers, the inability to get a better deal. It's not like they're not in the system, if I can put it that way. They are. They already got a loan, yet they become trapped with their existing lender. And the classic example is this morning I see that two major banks have lifted their interest rates out of step with RBA cash rate movements. So they've just decided we're going to up interest rates. So if you're an existing borrower there, it's going to be much harder for you to get a better deal because your interest rate's already gone up out of sync. And who says it won't go up again next week if RBA moves it?
Yeah, but I mean, when you say why does that make it more difficult to get a better deal?
Well, when you try and refinance elsewhere, you're assessed on that buffer rate, as you mentioned, that 3% extra. Not that that's the rate you'll pay. Yeah. It's just a margin to make sure it's a safe thing. We're not saying get rid of it. In Canada and the UK, they actually looked at completely getting rid of the buffer rate, which I don't agree with at all. But I don't know if 3% today is fit for purpose, and that's higher than what it used to be in the past. And it may be that it needs to be reduced to 2.5% or potentially 2% above.
But given the volatility, surely it needs to be that larger buffer because it is absolutely conceivable that interest rates could increase by 3% over the next short period.
I don't know. Our view is there's probably another 2 rate rises, potentially 3 rate rises this year of 25 basis points each, and that will be it, and rates will start to contract and come back a bit. I cannot see how we go through. That's why I say 2.5% might be reasonable in the marketplace, but it needs to be regularly assessed. What I've seen in the past, these things are generally looked at when something goes wrong or they're trying to achieve something, whatever that may be. There needs to be a more regular review pattern, if I can put it that way, to make sure that these sort of things stay fit for purpose on a regular basis. And that means at times that 3% might be fine. I can go back in history and say, I know when it was 4. I can go further back and say, I know when it was 1. But they need to be fit for purpose in the marketplace time. And at the moment, after the extraordinarily unusual period we've been through with interest rates so low for so long, and people who are now coming off what was largely 2-year fixed rates, and that bell curve that people taking up fixed rates happens in June, July this year. They're stepping out of interest rates with a 1 or a 2 at the beginning of it, with something that's probably got a 5 or a 6 at the beginning of it. It's an enormous step.
Oh, no doubt about that. But that 3% is based on the interest rate you're actually borrowing at, not the official cash rate, which is never the same.
No, that's cost of funds.
Yeah,
so the 3%. So you got your cash rate.
Yeah.
Creates in principle your cost of funds, and you've got your margin on top of it by the lender, which is their operating profits and risk margins, all that stuff. Then you got your 3% buffer on top of it again.
That's right, but that's what I'm saying. So if the cash rate goes up by the 1.5% that you're talking about, or let's say 2%, at the outset, I think it might go higher than that. But let's assume that you're right. That 3% buffer certainly covers. It will cover the increase. Not only that, but whatever the banks are putting on top.
That'd be correct. But my comment was, I was talking about, there's about a 0.5 to 0.75 increase in rates this year, and then they'll taper off. That's the economist's view of where we're going to in the future. It's not. There's no one that I know that is predicting that interest rates are going to go another 2 or even 3% in the near future.
Well, there's some people say there could be another 7 or 8 rate rises, though.
Yeah, no, that was past commentary. I haven't heard anyone saying that now. But regardless, that's why I say there should be a regular review of this.
Well, I think that's fair.
Yeah. At the moment, my concern is if you're an existing borrower and you're trying to get a better deal, or you're coming out of a fixed rate and trying to deal with a new world, the 3% I'm not sure is fit for purpose in this environment today.
Okay.
And
well, it's certainly something worth thinking about, and the more we think about these things, I think the better, because a lot of people do tend to set and forget these things, and that is not the way to do things. Peter, I really appreciate your time this morning.
Stephen, thank you very much.
All the best. Peter White is the Finance Brokers Association of Australia Managing Director.